Hey, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to our um, Amazon interview questions and answers session here on YouTube Live with Day One Careers. My name is Evgeny. Gigi and I run Day One Careers together, and we try to run these sessions as often as we can so that you guys can answer any questions on Amazon's behavioral interviews that you have, and we'll do our best to answer them if they are within something that we've got an expertise with. So the way this works, folks, is that you type your questions into the comments section of this YouTube Live, and we answer them. So we'll pick questions that we are answering and put them on screen. And then if we, for some reason, skip a question, it means that we've either answered it before or it's not something that we've got any expertise with. But so that you know what you can expect from this session, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Evgeny. As I mentioned previously, together with Gigi, we run Day One Careers. I have had an 18-year career in global Fortune 500 businesses. At Amazon, I spent just over 3.5 years as a senior leader, a marketing leader, a category leader, and a hiring manager and interviewer. Whereas a lot of Amazonians do, I interviewed for my own team, for partner teams, and everything else in between. I started Day One Careers originally in August 2020 as I was preparing to exit Amazon. And then while I spent 1 year at Apple, I was running Day One Careers on the side. And then I met Gigi, and we decided to merge Day One Careers with Amazon Interview Wiz Academy. So now Gigi, the original Amazon Interview Wiz, and myself, we are running Day One Careers together. Gigi, as you know, is also a veteran Amazonian and also is an ex-bar raiser, which means that she was part of literally hundreds of hiring decisions at Amazon in various different roles. So, folks, while we're getting started, the way that this will work, I understand that folks are just piling in. So please type your questions in the comments section where everyone else is typing them in. Type them into the chat. Let us know what you'd like answered. Anything that has to do with behavioral questions is good to go. Please make your question as specific as you possibly can. If you do type a question along the lines of, I've got an interview for such and such role in 2 weeks, any tips? I'm going to have to send you to our YouTube channel and to our blog, which you can find at blog.day1.careers, where you can get all sorts of general Amazon interview answers. So please do make your question specific. And if you can, try to contain your question within just one message. I understand that there's a character limitation there, but if you start splitting your question across multiple messages, it becomes very difficult to track it down all across. So today's session, we're going to run together with Gigi. Now, Gigi is running a little bit late, so she's going to be here at around 5:30 British summer time, so in about 26 minutes. And then at 6, I'm going to leave and give you guys to Gigi. But while I'm here, and then for the half an hour that Gigi and I will be here, please type your questions in. So at the moment, we haven't got any questions, but we do have this message from Martina, who says that she's preparing for her panel interview with our videos. And she says, thank you. Well, Martina, we are extremely happy that you're finding our videos helpful. And we are working our backs off to make your Amazon interview preparation as painless and as exciting as possible. So now we've got questions that are beginning to come in. So let's start let's start pulling them up. And so here we've got a question from AK Desai. Hello, AK. And the question is, hello both, love your content. I have my virtual on-site tomorrow and preparing from your previous videos. I have total 5 rounds, which meaning 2+ hours of LP questions. Any tips? Thanks a bunch. Not many tips, to be honest, other than watch our YouTube videos, read our blog, invest in our paid courses, and practice with partners. We heavily recommend you, or whatever you do, whatever information you're getting to get your theory back up and running, do practice with partners. If you download our free course, which you will find if you just go to our website, day1.careers, along with that free course, you're going to get access to the free community in our Discord. Just grab it. It costs you nothing, and you're going to get a lot of partners with whom you can link up. And then you can use the questions from the Amazon interview tool pack that you're going to get together with your course, with your free course to practice. So literally, we're giving you all of this for free. Just grab it and practice for your interviews. So that would be my general recommendation. But folks, for general questions like, do you have any tips? I'm going to say, watch our YouTube videos, read our blog, download our free course, practice with partners in our Discord. If you have time, invest in our paid resources, and then come and ask us very specific questions. Right. So let's get to the next question. So we got this one from Vishal. And the question is, how do I answer this question? Tell me about a time when you are not able to deliver results. I think, well, I haven't actually seen a question that is phrased in exactly the same way, but this seems like a negative version of a deliver results question. And I guess if that is indeed what you're referring to, then you need to explain how you salvage the situation to the best of your ability. Because remember, deliver results leadership principle is in a lot of ways about how you rise above the circumstances and deliver under pressure, despite setbacks. And one of the setbacks is that when you realize that you can't deliver everything that you set out to do, how do you prioritize and how do you make sure that you deliver as much as possible while thinking about balancing the short-term versus long-term impact, how to make sure that to maximize your impact and do the best with what you've got. So that's basically what you need to be thinking about under deliver results when you can't deliver it all. So let's keep going. This one is from Design, and the question is the compensation for remote Amazon positions based on location? I've checked on levels FYI, and I can't tell for sure. Thanks for all your content. I made it through phone screen 1, and this is the L7 principle UX design, I would imagine. So we actually don't have access to pay scales and pay ranges. We've just started collecting pay scales. We're asking folks who have succeeded with our content and our services to submit to us accepted offers. And we do have some remote offers in there. And we can't necessarily figure out what these offers are based on. There isn't any discernible decrease in total compensation versus similar roles that are office based. So unfortunately, we don't really have the inside information on that matter. We're going to try and get it as we go along, but at the moment, when it comes to specific ranges for remote offers, this stuff is incredibly confidential at Amazon. But what I can tell you is that based on the information that we are beginning to gather, we can't necessarily see any disadvantages in terms of TC based on the packages that we are seeing. So don't feel like you're going to be at any disadvantage if you're going to go remote, although it's not something that we know for sure. Here's a question from Vishal. I have the last interview, which is the bar raiser. Okay, fair enough. Please shed some light on what are the things that we should learn in 1 week to clear this interview. Nothing that you shouldn't be learning to clear all other behavioral interviews. See, there actually, there is no value and there's no benefit with anyone trying to figure out who is the bar raiser, when is the bar raising interview, and if there's anything specific they need to learn. Fairly simply, because if you pile all your efforts into the bar raiser interview and you absolutely smash it, but you don't perform well in all of the other interviews, the bar raiser can very well change their mind during the debrief, because the bar raiser will be in the absolute minority and everyone else is going to be saying, look, we just absolutely do not believe this person should be hired. And guess what? Even if the bar raiser believes that the candidate should be hired, if the hiring manager does not want to hire the candidate, the bar raiser cannot veto that decision. The only decision that the bar raiser can veto is that if the hiring manager wants to bring a person in, but the bar raiser doesn't want to do it. So the only viable strategy is for you to make sure that you have a consistent level of high performance across all of your interviews. Do not invest all of your eggs into the bar raiser basket. It is not a successful strategy. Let's keep going. How do you answer, in your experience, what makes some customers especially difficult to manage while others are easier? Customer obsession question. I've never seen this question under customer obsession. And in fact, the way that this question is phrased is not in a behavioral way. Behavioral interview questions are all phrased as, tell me about a time when you have blah, 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 and where blah, blah, blah is demonstrated a certain behavior, i.e., tell me about a time when you've had a very difficult conversation with a customer, or tell me about a time when a customer came to you with a request where they wanted something, but you, as a subject matter expert, knew that they actually needed something else. Stuff like this. Hypotheticals or opinion questions. These are not actual questions that you would be getting in an Amazon interview, or at least they are not something that the interviewers should be asking candidates, because they are not probing for evidence from your professional experience. Please, people, when you are researching Amazon interview questions, go to our blog. And I'm going to give you the URL for this. It's blog.day1.careers. There's an article there. Just look for it. Go scroll down, click more, and there's an article about Amazon interview questions. If you want the full URL, I'm going to spell it out to you. It's blog.day1.careers/Amazon interview questions. There you're going to have a compressed list of Amazon questions which Gigi and I have vetted. So these are the questions that you can expect to encounter, and they're mapped to leadership principles. If you want a more expanded list of questions, which is also vetted by Gigi and I, there is a free Amazon interview tool pack that you can download. The link to that tool pack is in that article. So I'm going to repeat that URL for you. It's blog.day1.careers/Amazon-interview-questions. Go there and use those questions to prepare for your Amazon interviews. Do not take questions from any other source, because there's a lot of junk. There's a lot of rubbish on the internet. Folks are writing articles, posting them online. They're saying top Amazon interview questions, and almost all of them are rubbish. If that is the resource that you got your questions from, ignore it. Go to our resources and just use them. It's all free for you. We just want you guys to make sure that you're preparing using the right questions and not some junk that you find on the internet. Now, let's go to these questions one by one. So here's another question. So this one is from Ananta. Hi, Evgeny, Gigi. Thanks for all your videos. And sorry, guys, this banner is really chopping my face off, but that's fine. I'm just going to read it and I'm going to take it down. So thanks for all your videos. For the loop interview, will there be any technical questions, or are all of them behavioral? If any tech questions, what kind of questions are expected? Well, Ananta, it really depends on what role you're interviewing for. But to answer your general question, is loop only behavioral? No, loop can be anything. It really depends on the team. It's up to the team to figure out how they want to structure their loops. For technical roles, the loop is both behavioral and technical, and there's a technical bar that you would need to clear. And for most technical roles, and by technical roles I mean mostly software development engineers, to L5, there are various different technical questions. There are coding questions. There are system design questions. The best way, and on top of that, there are behavioral questions, of course. The best way to figure out what the composition of your loop is to ask your recruiter. There's absolutely no downside to asking your recruiter. Now, if you are interviewing for a non-technical role like I don't know, marketing, supply chain, anything like this, it is it is highly likely that most of your loop will be behavioral. However, it's up to the team to make a decision on how to pull together their loop, and the best source of information in terms of what you should be expecting in terms of your loop composition is your recruiter, and there's absolutely no downside and no harm to asking. So let's keep going. Here's a question from Moserat. Or I've just looked at the icon and realized that it's actually a mouse rat. I thought it was like a name, and I didn't want to mispronounce it, right? Because I was tempted to pronounce it as mouse rat, but apparently it is. Judging by the icon, it is indeed a mouse rat. That is forever. So, hi, big fan. Hello there. I have my technical screen this week, and I've been referred by a senior employee to a senior TPM role. Congratulations. So curious how much weight such a referral carries typically. It carries a decent amount of weight to get you to your phone screen. That's where it carries the weight. You see, all referrals, what happens is the referrals, they simply land in a different queue. And hiring managers like myself, we tend to check this queue first and try to see if we've got relevant profiles in that queue first. That's basically what it is. As soon as you've been invited to your phone screen, this is where you should be placed on equal footing with anyone else who was pulled into the phone screen from the general application. Does that mean that in your particular case, that referral will not have any additional weight to the interview outcome? I can't tell you, because obviously, people are people, but it shouldn't. Referrals should only have weight to pull you into the phone screen, and from then on, you should be on equal footing. And so that's, if I were you, that's how I would approach it. But let's keep going. So the next one will be Firus. I have an upcoming Amazon interview for a senior program manager. Your videos are really helpful and better preparing, especially for the STAR method. Thank you. That wasn't really a question, but it's always great to know that you guys are finding our materials helpful. So next question here is from Subendu. How the roles and designations work, i.e. can a solutions architect be hired as an L7 and the senior solutions architect as an L6? We apply for a role and not a designation. How designation offered post-selection? So presumably by designation you mean level. If by designation you mean level, then for some roles, the role titles, i.e. solutions architect or senior solutions architect or principal solutions architect, they are indeed mapped to role levels, in which case a solutions architect would be an L5, a senior solutions architect an L6, and then a principal an L7. Generally speaking, a principal as a role is an L7, usually an individual contributor, meaning that you don't have any direct reports. So for some role families, such as solutions architect, marketing managers, not for vendor managers, because for vendor managers you don't have usually the principal role, but for most roles, there is a way to figure out what level is the role at from the title. I think with finance it's slightly different, because finance sometimes jumps in half levels. So there's L6, L6 and a half, and L7 for other roles. I haven't seen this designation. In terms of applying to roles and then being up leveled or down leveled. So it really depends. Sometimes the hiring manager may have different roles in the team, and they could interview you for, let's say, an L6 role, but then they can decide that you fit more to an L5 role. Then they will down level your offer and then make you an offer to take an L5 role. Sometimes you can be up leveled. It doesn't happen as often as down leveling, but you can be up leveled. In which case, if, for example, the team that interviewed you decided that you are overqualified, or let's say you raised the bar too high for, let's say, an L6, then they can pull you into additional interviews and get an L7 bar raiser to bar raise you for an L7. So there needs to be a next level bar raiser. And then they can decide whether you raise the bar for an L7. That's how they would up level you. If you were interviewed by an L7 bar raiser, then that L7 bar raiser can up level you right there. And then if your main loop was conducted by an L7 bar raiser. So it really depends. It depends on many different factors. Some of them would be, is the role scope and level flexible? Yes or no? Does the hiring manager have roles of various different scopes and levels within the same job family, such as a solutions architect? Yes or no? And then sometimes it could be a down level with an offer, up level with an offer, or no offer if you don't raise the bar at the level that you interviewed for. I hope that helps. Right. So let's keep going. How much does LinkedIn certification and LinkedIn profile makes a difference? Thank you so much. It really depends on what the certification is on, and also how well it makes you stand out with versus other candidates, to make your profile attractive to recruiters. I'm gonna say that with the caliber of candidates that Amazon is picking from, I think you probably need to go further and deeper than a LinkedIn certification. But that's my general idea of what these LinkedIn certifications are. Does that mean that it's completely a waste of time? No, absolutely not. My general advice is, and this is where I'm widening this for you a little bit, take learning opportunities because it's something that interests you and not just something that gets you a certification. And if it gets you a certification, it cannot harm your profile. It may or may not add anything crazy in terms of the weight and the attractiveness of your profile, but the education that you're getting that comes with the certification, assuming that it's the right course and you're not just sort of wasting time there, then it will help you in ways that you will not be able to understand or see immediately. Trust me on this. Go to school to learn, not to be taught. Someone once, a very much wiser than me, told me once. So let's keep going. Martina here has another question. Oh no, actually, this is the first question from Martina. I applied for multiple extremely similar positions within the same team that is currently expanding. Does it mean that I might be considered for multiple positions with one single interview process? Yes, you may, but whether that happens or not is actually up to the hiring manager. It is up to the hiring manager, and if the roles, so for example, I'll give you an example. So if let's say you're applying to a marketplace team and there's a whole bunch of accounting manager roles that are being opened at the same time, then in fact, when you're interviewing for one role, you're being considered for all of these roles because the roles are the same and they just could have different clients or different sellers, selling partners that you would be looking after if these roles are absolutely the same. If these roles are similar in remit, but the functional families are slightly different, you can still be considered for all of them. And it's up to the hiring manager how they want to construct the loop for it. The best thing to do is to reach out and to ask them. But yes, you can, but it's not automatic. Yeah, that's what you should remember. And we've got a thank you here from Vishal, who says, thanks for your help. Great live session and content. Our pleasure. Vishal, we are working for you, mate. Sorry, I don't know where you're. Oh yeah, there it is. See, I can pull you up on screen. So thank you very much for your kind words, Vishal. We are working hard for you guys. But let's keep going. So question from Sumit, who's interviewing for a risk manager, a third-party security position. Is it fine if you don't have very complex stories for behavioral questions? Right. Let's just separate complex stories from complex scenarios. Your stories, the way that you storytell, needs to be simple. It needs to be simple so that people without any specific technical knowledge should be able to understand. So articulate everything that you're delivering in a clear, concise, and logical manner. Try to avoid specific industry jargon so that folks who are not familiar with your industry could understand what you're saying. And there shouldn't be a need to make your delivery complex in order to demonstrate how you were handling and tackling complex projects. Complexity of projects is a good thing. It's a seniority signal. That's good. However, your delivery needs to be linear, concise, logical, and not complex, because complex delivery does not lead to better comprehension. But demonstrating that you can solve complex problems is absolutely it's necessary. How complex is complex for a risk manager? It's hard to say. Maximize. What do we mean by maximize? Try to talk about the most complex projects that you've ever solved, and you will know what these projects are, right? Like there's no absolute scale how to measure complexity, right? And you will know because you will remember these projects, because you will remember these professional situations where you've solved a problem and you're thinking, wow, I did not believe I could solve that. That was pretty complex. So you'll know where these situations are. So these are the ones that you need to be selling to Amazon. And also remember, Amazon has their pick of candidates, right? So when you're asking me for whether it's okay to not have very complex problems, I can't tell you no. You need to go and look for these examples where you were solving and wrestling with complexity, distilling it down to simple solutions. All right, there's an additional question from Martina here, which is there a chance that I will see again the same people I met at the phone screen stage? Yes, there is. For the same position. You meaning how many people from phone screens reach to the loop? It really depends on the role. I think Gigi might have some averages. I'm saying might because I've got this weird memory in my head that we've talked about this, and she had some stats in there because I don't have any stats. I was never privy to these stats. I mean, based on the phone screens to loops that were happening with my hiring, I would say 1 in 20 may get to the loop, something like that. It really depends on the, and it also depends on the volume of recruitment, right? So I was hiring marketing managers. There's quite a hefty applications pipeline. How many folks made it to phone screen from the actual applications, that I can't tell you, but the percentages were tiny in my case. So even if you made it to phone screen, you're one of the selected few. That is for sure. Now, folks, we're going to answer more questions, right? We've got another half an hour. Now, this is the time when Gigi and I have a favor to ask. And Gigi is not here. Maybe she will join while I'm asking you for this favor. Maybe she won't, but I'm going to have to ask you for this favor nonetheless. So here's the thing. Gigi and I are working our backs off so that you guys have the most credible Amazon interview preparation content that is available in the industry. What pains us a lot, I'll be very honest with you, pains me a lot, is that there's a lot of junk on YouTube. Not only on YouTube, there's a lot of junk on the internet, on Google, where you're getting some weird guidance from so-called experts that Gigi and I, then have to help candidates with, because they come to us. We call them refugees because they come from a particular coach. I'm not going to name names, but there's a particular coach, refugees, that we call them. For example, there are people who are saying that your star response to a behavioral interview question needs to be 2 minutes. Otherwise, the interviewer loses interest. And we just want to pluck the, the hair on our heads, out when we hear this. As you can see, I don't have any hair left because I plucked it all out, right? Because of all these experts. So we want to make sure that you guys get the absolute best content. The only way for us to get this absolute best content to you and to other candidates, we need you guys to like our streams and to like our content. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a simple click, and what it does is it tells YouTube that this content is not credible, but that this content is something that the YouTube needs to up rank. That's all we're asking you for. And while you guys are doing this, we've got some really cool entertainment here for you. So I'm gonna get this entertainment, and while I'm showing you this little cool entertainment from Day One Careers, please go and like this stream, and then we will continue answering questions as soon as we're done. So here we go. Like the stream. Like the stream. Like the stream. There you go. Now, we have another version of this video with Gigi and myself both doing the dance, but this is a previous one and a classic one, and I really like it. So I hope you guys took this time and pressed that like button under the stream. And now we can get back to answering more questions. So here's a question from Majid. So Majid is interviewing for the associate position, like the solutions architect. Okay, do you know if the first interview for associate position, like solutions architect, are more focused on some LPs than others? So I'm not sure I can understand fully your question. I'm not clear whether you're interviewing for the solutions architect role at an associate level, or if you're asking a general question on whether some leadership principles are more important than others. So what leadership principles are important for a particular role is, at the end of the day, up to the hiring manager to define, which is why every hiring manager that's worth their salt will be defining the critical set of leadership principles for every role. What these leadership principles are, you can pretty much tease it out from the job description. And if you go to the job description, you will be able to look for keywords that will give you some pointers towards what these leadership principles are that they're really looking for. We also have a YouTube video in our YouTube channel that you can watch, and that video will give you a general guide on how you can decipher leadership principles from your role. And unfortunately, that video does not give you the magic powers to bring Gigi back into the stream, because if it did, then I would have done it a lot earlier. But now she is here, and she also offers an amazing service. If you can't, for some reason, decide to delete the principles from your job description, she'll do it for you. She runs the service. If you want to check it out, then you have to join our community. And that's it. Gigi, welcome.
Hi. Thank you. So sorry I am running late. Can you see me all right? Is it quite dark in here?
It's not darker than usual, and yes, we can see it.
Not darker than usual. That's a backhanded kind of compliment / not compliment. But good, okay.
Yes, well, see, it should make you feel at home, Gigi, with these sessions with both you and I. But we are. I've just showed the branded video. I found it. You'd be pleased that I found the video and I've showed it, but I ended up showing the video with just yourself when you go like the stream. See, I can't.
Oh, is it the disco one? Like the stream, yeah.
Yes, like the stream.
Yeah.
See, yes, I can sing in key, but just a couple of octaves down. But there we go. So Gigi, I'm gonna pick the next question, and feel free to hunt for your next one while I'm doing this one. So, while we're answering this one, so Rishab, apologies if I butchered your name here, but I think that's what it is, Rishab. So Evgeny, I have multiple recruiters contacting me at the same time at AWS for different roles. that I think I could be a fit. Should I pursue them all at the same time, as long as they all have visibility? Yes, you should, if you are interested in them. The thing is, they're gonna have to work out in between them, and at some point in time, they may decide to fold some of your recruitment streams into fewer ones, or even into one. So it really depends on how these things will play out. But there's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping you from pursuing multiple roles at once. And how to handle this complexity on the Amazon side, it's something that your recruiter or recruiters will figure out. But it's a great position to be in. Just make sure that these roles are something that you want to do, because hey, you may be able to get one of them, and then you'll have to then see what you're going to do with an offer. So fingers crossed that things will work out for you. That's all I got. Gigi?
Cool. Nope, nothing to add. So I'm just going to quickly pop this up on the screen, because this is Matilda 90004 who stopped by to say hello, because it's one of our successful candidates from a little while ago now. 3-month anniversary. It's a real word, by the way, everyone. Anniversary is a thing. Congratulations on your 3-month anniversary, Matilda. And oh, you're so sweet, and so sweet of you to come along and drop by. I haven't forgotten us. We really appreciate that. So I hope it's been going really, really well. I know the first 6 months are always a bit of a challenge, because you come in thinking you're like some kind of god, and then you realize that everyone else in the room, or at least you think everyone else in the room, is way cleverer than you, and you start to go, "Ah!" But you're doing well. Halfway through to the point of zhong. So zhong. Right. Thank you for coming back. Very grateful. Right. I do have one that I wanted to answer. So XYZ. I like that. It's really creative by not being creative. You have your final loop on the 6th, or the 14th to the 6th. Sorry. British, we do it the other way round, and I've gotten unused to the American way. So the 14th of June, and due to unfortunate reasons, the debrief was pushed back to the 28th, which is tomorrow. Does the delay have any effect on the final decision during debrief? No, it's got nothing to do with you whatsoever, and it's just about people's diaries. So it in no way impacts the final decision at all in any way. So that was a really easy one. I feel cheeky for that one, but your turn now, Evgeny.
That's absolutely fine. I've got something to respond to you with. So it's more than eighth business day from the Loop interview, and I didn't hear from the recruiter. She's not responding to my emails. What should I do? Right. So if it's the 8th business day from the Loop interview and you're not getting a response, then I would drop her a note on LinkedIn. I would also drop a note to some other recruiters on LinkedIn that you can identify, and tell them that it's been almost 2 weeks since the Loop, and your recruiter is not answering your emails. You just want a decision. You just want to get some clarity and see what they have to say, because obviously Amazon's candidate promise is 2 and 5, so they should have been with you already. The only thing is, I would say, don't start going on LinkedIn maybe right now. So just give it until it's been 2 weeks. I mean, 2 weeks is long, right? And then it's not what Amazon is trying to aim for. But if it's been 2 weeks, then I think it's time where you can engage other communication channels, like write to the very same recruiter on LinkedIn. If she doesn't respond, then write to someone else on LinkedIn, and see if they can get in touch with that recruiter internally and ask them, hey, what's going on? I'm sure it's some sort of a logistical delay, people's holidays, or maybe someone's ill. Everyone's a human, so I would always assume normal human lives and no negative intent until proven otherwise. But I don't really have anything to add, Gigi?
Nope, nothing to add. Okay. Did we say thank you to Vishal, by the way? I can see this little yellow.
Yes, we
Right.
did. We put Vishal's comment up on screen. Thank you, Vishal. Absolutely pleasure to have you, and thank you for your supportive comments.
And I did turn on a light, so hopefully it's a bit less dark than it was, because I felt that feedback. Okay, so hi Evgeny. Sorry, it's not Evgeny. It's me. So your JD states the keywords business owner mindset, thinking big, strong bias for action, customer trust, diving deep and deliver results. Can you prepare for only these in phone screen? So I would say if you're going into phone screen, which obviously you are, and you don't mean loop because you've been quite specific here, I'd say your chances are pretty good that these are going to be the ones that will come up in phone screen because someone has clearly documented the things that feel to them to be the most important. So if I was a betting person, I would bet relatively confidently that any behavioral questions that you're asked in the phone screen will probably touch on these because otherwise they wouldn't have written them down. When you move on to loop, however, I would personally not just rely on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leadership principles. Unless you are in a technical role and the vast majority of your loop interview is going to be technical, which does happen. So, for example, software development engineers tend to not get as many leadership principles covered as most other people. Generally, you should probably be expecting somewhere between 8 and 10 leadership principles in your loop, just given the number of people that you'll face, the number of questions they need to ask you, and generally people are assigned 2 leadership principles each. So I think this is okay to rely on this for guidance for your phone screen. But once you get to loop, I suggest going to have to branch out a bit further than these 5. If you can possibly ask your recruiter, I guess Evgeny's been through all of this already based on what he was saying when I came in. But if you can, ask your recruiter if they can give you any more specifics in terms of leadership principles that go beyond these 5. Anything to add, Evgeny?
No, nothing to add. Nicely done. So let's keep going. So here is an interesting question. How do hiring managers look at candidates who have cleared the loop stand versus fresh/selected applicants in initial phone screens or late in the process, considering both have comparable credentials? I have no clue. Gigi, can you help me decipher this question?
Yeah, so I think what Abby is suggesting is a scenario. I hypothesize that Abby has made it through loop, has got some kind of a inclined, in theory, offer, pre-cleared, as I think you like to call it, and she's asking us if faced with her in that scenario, a new hiring manager faced with her in that scenario, versus a brand new candidate who hasn't been through the Amazon interview process yet at all and is only at initial phone screen. How do they like one more than the other? I think is what Abby's asking. Make sense?
Makes sense. From what I can tell, process-wise, hiring managers would be encouraged to consider someone who already has an inclined loop. But I don't think that they have to do it. But please correct me if I'm wrong, Gigi.
No, you're absolutely right. So they would either hear from the recruiter saying, I've got this great person, they just weren't right for the role, please consider them. Or if you put your resume in cold, the recruiter for that particular role that you've just applied for would go into the system and see your notes and see that you had made it all the way through loop and they've got inclined, and they would equally contact the hiring manager and say, oh my God, we've got this person who's applied and they've already got a kind of inclined out of a loop. We should talk to them. So, I mean, I would say almost certainly someone that had made it through the loop would be a preferred option than someone who has never made it through the loop and is effectively an untested quantity. I know I would prefer someone who had an inclined offer.
So would I. I mean, recruiting is interesting and talking to people is exciting. But almost everyone at Amazon does that on top of their day jobs. So if you can cut some corners, and we would, as ex Amazonian, I would trust the fellow Amazonians and the bar raiser that the person was inclined for the right reasons. So I would say, you know what, that's great. Thank God I've got someone that I don't need to spend as much time interviewing. It's all been done for me. So yeah. Right, so we kind of did this one together, but do you want to pick up the next one? Or should I?
Yeah. Go on, do you want to take it? I felt like I took over that one. I felt a bit rude.
I think it's teamwork.
Probably thinking I'm
Right.
thick.
Cool. Let's see. Oh, there you go. So thank you for answering. So yeah, one more. If someone seems curious and enthusiastic and they have more chance or relevant experience ones, or does personality matter? So I'm gonna say, look, all these sort of peripheral things like personality, charisma, charm, and other ways to hijack the emotional part of our brains. Yes, of course they matter to a point, right? But the entire process at Amazon is built to minimize their impact as much as possible, to floor it, so that the only thing that matters is the evidence that they collect during the interview. So if you want me to tell you, don't be charming, don't be pleasant, you're not going to hear me say that. Of course, if you're a naturally charming individual, and you're pleasant and you can connect with people and you can, make them chuckle or smile while at the same time delivering all the right evidence and the right seniority signals, all that stuff, go for it, right? Go for it. However, don't for the moment assume that out networking and out schmoozing will overtake solid behavioral interview evidence, which is the entire Amazon interviewing machine is there to tease out a candidate. Is that fair, Gigi?
Oh yeah, it's completely fair. And um, I would add on to it, don't waste your cognitive efforts on trying to be charming and trying to be funny, or trying to come up with some kind of parallels between your life and the life of the interviewer so that they can feel like you're more like them and therefore be more inclined to hire you. Any of that kind of BS, it's a complete waste of time and often comes across as really contrived and somewhat insulting. Because as an Amazon interviewer, if you start to feel that somebody is trying to emotionally manipulate you, it often has the opposite effect. And that's the last thing you want to do. So, yeah, just focus on the work. Simple.
True.
Okay, so I'm going to pick this one. Okay. So you're informed by your recruiter that each of your interviewers have assigned 2 LPs each. There you go. I told you earlier, whoever it was, 2 LPs each. How many questions can you expect for each LP? So I hate to say this, but this is a how long is a piece of string question, by which I mean it will depend massively and massively because of different variables. So the first variable that's going to drive how many questions you get is how long your answers are. So the longer your answers, the more time you'll use up, and therefore the less time there is to ask you questions. That's the first one. Second variable then is actually your interviewer. Some interviewers have a particular goal, number of questions in mind, and they just go for that goal, regardless of how long your answer seems to be or how kind of detailed your answer seems to be. They are just trucking for that number and they're going to push you through to them. And that number is not standardized, it will simply be their preference. And then the third variable will be how many follow-up and probing questions your interviewer has of your questions. Some interviewers don't ask very many follow-up questions. Some interviewers ask loads of follow-up questions. So I can't tell you how many questions you can expect for each leadership principle. It can vary from 1 all the way up to 6. So my suggestion to you is to build yourself good length stories that have plenty of detail in them. And then to a large degree, you control how many questions your interviewer has time for in your interview. Depending on the level that you're operating at, I would suggest to you if you're somewhere between an L4 and L5, probably comfortably 5 questions I would expect to go through with an L4 or an L5 in an hour-long interview. Once you're getting up to 6 or 7, really I'm looking at 4, 3, 4 for a 6, probably 3 for a 7, and then I've probably covered off most of the audience here at that point. but try and drive that yourself rather than be driven by your interviewer's particular objective. Would you add anything, Evgeny? I feel you would have an opinion on this.
No, I completely blanked out. I'm looking for a question to answer, so I have no idea what is
Yay!
happening
So
here.
basically, Gigi, you're absolutely right, and your answer was perfect.
It was perfect. It's always perfect, by the way. You know,
I love the honesty though. Like, no, I wasn't paying any attention at all. It's like a conversation with my husband.
Yeah, but I can only focus on one thing at a time. You know, like I'm not a female. You know, like I'm
Yeah,
jealous. You know, I
gosh, yeah.
lack this
As you
brain
should be. There are not
ability.
many advantages in life to being a woman, but multitasking is one of them.
I totally agree. And look at this, right? You know, I personally think it matters because I don't think Evgeny and Gigi would be boring nerd people. LOL. Like, make no mistake, we are the utter nerd people, but we try not to be boring. Okay, we're like the Stranger Things cool kids, you know. Anyway,
Oh my
no.
God, us from Stranger Things. Do you know what? You've just created an idea for me for for the next video. I'll see if I can do a Stranger Things version of Gigi and Evgeny.
Can I be the Demogorgon? No, please, please, God, no. Okay, but here, look, we've got a question here. Just wanted, oh, that's not a question. I just wanted to say thank you so much. I passed my loop for a graduate engineer role, and your channel was invaluable. Well done.
True. Awesome.
Done.
Congratulations. What a great way to start a career. This is the one. I have so many regrets from my life. It's ridiculous. So we don't have enough time to go through all of them.
No.
But one of them is definitely, I wish I had started at Amazon earlier. I started at Amazon when I know I don't look it, but I started at Amazon when I was in my mid-30s. And oh my God, I wish I'd gone in when I was like 20, and the opportunities that you have to kind of do amazing things and work in different roles. So everyone out there, you know, you're not over the hill yet if you're kind of 35, 45 for me. But certainly, you know, all those youngies out there, amazing place to start a career. So Drew, it's going to be incredible. Good luck.
Going up that hill. Yes.
I could sing Kathy for you. How awful would that be? You know, the Wuthering Heights one.
Oh, that would be amazing. Maybe we'll do another video. I've got two questions here. They're relatively straightforward, so we're just gonna, you know, do a rapid show here. So one of them is it okay to look up your interviewer on LinkedIn multiple times? So our recommendation is to stop at 3. Right? Don't do it more than 3 times. I'm just kidding. Just don't be weird, people. It's fine. Like, look them up as much as you want. Right? They're gonna look you up. In fact, when I was interviewing, my entire interview panel looked me up, and I stalked their profiles on LinkedIn. To be honest, if you are on LinkedIn and they're on LinkedIn, it's fair game. Right? So look at their profiles all you want. It's absolutely fine. If at any point in time you're concerned, just flick the privacy settings so that, you know, you don't see who's looked at your profile and they haven't, and that's it. But it doesn't really matter. And then there's another one. After completing your full interview loop, does Amazon tell you one way or the other if you received the role? Yes, they will. They in most cases won't give you any feedback if you didn't succeed. Some recruiters will, right? Some very, very good, not good, but some recruiters who like to sort of give candidates feedback, they may relay something, but officially they don't give feedback. So expect that they'll tell you whether you got it or not, but they won't tell you why. Actually, if you did get the role, they'll tell you why, but maybe the hiring manager will do it over coffee. That's what happened with in my case. But that's all I've got.
Okay. Sorry, I was reading another one that was kind of caught my attention, but I'm just going to do this one for Fazal. So you have an account representative intern interview, case study, and competency question. How do you prepare for both of these interviews? It's really hard to prepare for case studies because you don't know what to expect. So you can't really prepare for that one other than to prepare yourself for what you need to focus on. And it's always going to be the data, right? It's just always going to be the data. So when you're looking at that case study, make sure you understand the metrics, thinking about some of the downstream implications of those metrics, upstream feeders into those metrics, because those things are invariably going to drive the strategic decisions. that you're going to be making in terms of recommendations to your client. And then in terms of how you can prepare for the competency questions, I'm going to direct you back to our YouTube channel, because there's a great video on that, which is a 10-step guide to how to prepare for your competency interview. So many people comment that they followed that 10-step guide literally to the letter, and funnily enough, got offers. So go check out that video. It's literally called the 10-step guide to interviewing at Amazon, I think. And it's like me going, yeah, with some green kind of text boxes in it. So go check that one out. Good luck.
Everyone likes a 10-step guide,
Don't
including
they?
me. Yeah, they absolutely do. So this question is, how do you know the level of the position? I'm interviewing for senior content developer in devices. Usually, for some positions, you can figure out the level from the title. So the title of your role is usually an L6. Principal would be an L7, individual contributor, and then senior manager dot functional area tends to be an L7 managerial role with a team reporting into it. But for a whole bunch of other roles, you won't be able to decipher it from the title. As I always say, there's absolutely no harm to ask the recruiter. Most of them will probably say no. Some will say, hey, this is the level of the role. So go ahead and do that. No harm at all.
Okay, so I'm going to read in between the lines with this one, and it seems to have come in weird order. So unless I missed something earlier on from this candidate. So Gundam Exia 88. I'm not sure I understand that name, but okay. So you declined an offer, but they've now said you have to go through the loop again, though the time they gave you the initial offer was only 5 months ago. And then further up, you say, but the loop that you passed is only good for 6 months. And I think you're referring to the person I was talking to earlier about what an inclined is. So let's just be super clear. I'm going to take those down. I just want to give everyone a little bit of information about this idea of being pre-cleared. So it is true to say that you can receive an offer, which is different to kind of an inclined loop where you don't get an offer. So let's be super clear. You can get an offer from Amazon, and perhaps the role has been filled, but they want to give you an offer for I'm just going to use vendor manager 2 job family. All right. And what they'll say to you is, look, the role that we offered you is no longer available. Someone accepted the offer a day after you interviewed for your loop. But we have an offer on the table for you for a vendor manager 2. So any other vendor manager 2 role that comes up, you are pre-cleared, and this offer stands for 6 months, right? Now, you have to be applying for a vendor manager 3 exact job family for that offer to stand. If you apply for a different role at Amazon, vendor manager 1, vendor manager 3, program manager 1, but that you think sounds like a vendor manager job, and it may even be titled it in the job description, but they've decided that actually the job family that they're giving it is program manager 1, 2, whatever, that offer does not stand because it's a different job family. So in order for your offer to have a 6-month kind of value to it, you have to be applying to another role that has exactly the same job family code. One nuance that I really need to find out the facts on, which I'm not too sure about, is whether that offer stands in a different country for the same job family. So if you got an offer for a vendor manager 2 that had a 6-month tenure, would you be able to effectively call down on that vendor manager in the US? Would you be able to call down on that vendor manager 2 offer in Spain? Don't know, but just thought I'd put that out there. We should find out the answer to that one, Evgeny. Then there's you have an inclined loop. We think you'd be a great Amazonian, but we're not going to give you an offer for this job family because we don't think that you're a fit. That is not the same thing. That is not a job offer that is open for 6 months. That's you've passed the loop in theory, but there's no job for you at the end of this stick. We're going to now pass you on to other teams and say, here's a theoretically pre-cleared candidate who we think would make a good Amazonian, but they're still going to have to convince you that they would make a good program manager 1. And in that scenario, that's when you have to go through the process again, because you don't actually have an offer. You've just been told that we are inclined because you might make a great Amazonian one day if we could find you the right job. That's what I wanted to clarify. Does that make sense the way I've said it, Evgeny?
Absolutely. It's beautifully said, and a great time for me to exit this session and to leave you guys in the capable hands of Gigi.
Yep, I'm going to hang on for a bit. So bye-bye. Have a good evening,
Bye-bye.
Evgeny.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Right, everybody, I'm going to stay on a little bit longer as a bit of penance because I arrived late. So I know a whole bunch of you were expecting to drop off now, and I can see the numbers have dropped. So that's cool. Like, don't worry if you need to go, but I'm going to stay a little bit longer because my family don't need me for the next few minutes. So I'm going to keep working through. What do we have here? The only problem is when you're doing it solo, there are pregnant pauses which feel really uncomfortable. So I do apologize for that. Oh, okay, here we go. I'm going to read through this kind of a list from Anchor. So your process started a month ago. The interview was lined up for Wednesday. You feel they closed the position and are now just closing the loop or maybe going for a backup. Is this a good position to be in? Okay, so if Amazon has filled a role, they more often than not don't bother continuing to interview people because that's effectively a waste of time because there's no job to put them into. Now, potentially, if there are other roles available in the team or in adjoining teams that they know they're interviewing for and they know they need to fill, in those scenarios, they might still keep interviewing the candidate in the hope that if they're if they're raising the bar for that particular role, they could then just drop them into some of these other recs that are currently open. But if the actual role itself has gone and there are no other roles in and around the team, it'd be very, very unusual for Amazon to keep interviewing you. More often than not, they call you up and tell you, I'm sorry, the job is filled. This happens, unfortunately, to quite a few of our candidates, and we hear about it on our Discord community. So if I were you, I wouldn't waste your time second guessing what's going on. You can't control it. Just go for the interview and hopefully you'll pass it and there will be a job at the end of it. But, don't try and overthink these things, particularly when you've no way of actually knowing what's going on behind the scenes. Okay. Next question. Ooh. Here we go. Behavioral question recommendations for an SDE1. So please go and check out a video that's on our YouTube channel. I did an interview with Venkat. Is it Venkat? I think so. Who's an ex-software development leader at Amazon. We've got a really good video on SDE and SDM interviewing at Amazon. Comes with a support sheet and all sorts. So please go check that one out. That should be super insightful for you. Moving on then. Okay, so virtual on-site in a few days for a front end in Amazon London. Any specific tips for interviewing in Amazon London? Because I work there. The interview tips for working in Amazon London, the same as the interview tips for working in Amazon Shanghai, same interview tips for working in Amazon Moscow, same interview tips for Amazon Chicago, Boston, Massachusetts. Boston is Massachusetts. Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's the same everywhere. It's the same. Like Amazon's interview process is completely global. So although yes, I have an English accent and I'm from London, it would be the same. And anyone from anywhere in the world interviewing anywhere in the world in Amazon could and should follow the tips on our channel. It's all the same. So actually, my best tip is where to go for lunch. Which is not the Amazon buildings, although there's a few different buildings, so who knows which one. But yeah, if you could go to the market that's just opposite Principal Place, best place to get lunch. Okay. Let's quick one here. So our expertise is not in kind of resumes / CVs, but this is an easy question to answer. How impactful are preferred qualifications in the job description during the loop? They're not impactful at all. The purpose of your resume is to get you to interview. That's it. It serves no purpose beyond that. So doesn't help you out at all in loop. In terms of whether, if you're saying to me having the skills that reflect what is in the preferred qualifications, the preferred qualifications are kind of the, the icing on the cake. You've got the basics, which is you want everyone to be able to have those skills, and then preferred is kind of the if we could have this person to have all these other skills as well, we'd love that as well. So that's great. At Loop, hopefully you would be able to tell stories that reflect not just your brilliance in terms of the actual leadership principles and the behavioral competencies, but your stories would reflect the scope of the role. So in that way, having the preferred qualifications will be useful to you, but only if you can actually articulate those capabilities in your behavioral stories at Loop. They don't have any value intrinsically for themselves on a piece of paper. Or it's not going to be on a piece of paper anymore, is it? It's going to be on a screen, but you know what I mean. Okay. Okay, do I have specific videos on how to prepare for phone screen? Should you focus primarily on style? What else? There is a video on the YouTube channel that talks specifically about phone screen 1 and what to expect. So go check that out, because there are many different types of routes that the phone screen 1 could potentially go down. So the video covers all of that off. Please go check it out. Can loop interviews be done remotely, or are they always in person? Yep, I think the majority of them are actually now done remotely. So yeah, now that would obviously depend on different countries. Different countries have different rules, particularly in the post-COVID world, but there should be no reason why you can't do it by video. If you want to do it by video and your recruiter is telling you it has to be in person, then it's worth just having a conversation with them as to why you would prefer to do it by video and why they feel it needs to be in person, and hopefully coming up with some kind of a middle ground that works for you both. Okay. All right, quickly here. We're running out of questions, so it looks like I'll probably wrap up in a minute anyway. What does not inclined, I think there's a typo there, not inclined with recycle mean? It means that the team did not think that you were bar raising as an Amazonian, but they are not so concerned that you're a million miles off bar raising that they don't think you should come back anytime soon. So a not inclined recycle effectively says this person hasn't proven to us that they are raising the bar, but potentially if they gave it another go, they might be able to convince somebody else. So we're quite happy for them to just go back into the pool and apply for other roles immediately. That's what a not inclined recycle means. Okay, so, oh, this is awesome. Oh, I'm so pleased to finish off with this one. Hey, Victor. 8 months ago, you were here for tips, and then now you're on the other side of the table shadowing interviews at Amazon. Oh, very exciting, Victor. I hope, Victor, you'll come back to me. It's probably going to be a few years' time, but I would love to see you come back and tell me that you are a bar raiser. That would be super awesome. I think I am yet to have any of my candidates come back and tell me they've made it to bar raiser, but that's because I've only been doing this for a couple of years and it takes a while to get to that point. But Victor, have the ambition. I'd be super excited if that happened. Okay, everyone. So we are now done for time, but please don't go, because I have the best giveaway for you on Amazon interviewing on anywhere on the planet. I'm sure of it. Go to this URL here and you can get yourself a free course from the Day One Careers team. It's completely focused on the customer obsession leadership principle. It will teach you our way of understanding the leadership principles. We have a unique learning methodology called facets. So it helps you understand the 4 facets of customer obsession. It will then also tell you pretty much exactly what your interviewer is looking for in your behaviors for customer obsession to help you build your stories. And then there's a little mock interview at the end, me interviewing me, to show you how it can kind of all come together in interview. totally free. And if you take that, you will also get access to our incredible Discord community, which has over 2,000 members, where you can come on, ask questions, get the benefit of the experience of those 2,000 other people. You can try and do mock interviews with some of those other peers and people who are interviewing at Amazon. It's completely priceless as a giveaway. So much value in that community and in the course. So please do go and grab that. Right, so I think that is it for us for today. Thank you very much for coming. We will be back same time next week. For any of you that have interviews coming up, we wish you the very, very best of luck. And for those of you who snaffled yourself some roles, congratulations. We are very proud of you. Hopefully, see you next week.